Okay, so let me welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Yuri Fried. I'm with Trusted IT Group. We also joined today by Alex Rodov, and our speaker today, the presenter, is Eric Alley. Eric Alley comes to us with a great wealth of experience. He is a Scrum Master, ITIL practitioner, Six Sigma, and generally spend many years in the project management field. So he put together this, I think, very interesting webinar, and the theme of it is why organize people in value streams. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over the mic to Eric, and of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them into the chat, and this will be available on YouTube for replay. I'll also post a link to the whole playlist we'll find there, and that's pretty much it. Enjoy the webinar.
Thank you very much. That was a good introduction. So why organize people into value streams? If you're familiar with the SAFe framework, this is actually one of the principles that's defined in the SAFe framework. So it's a good question. I've tried to take a different spin on it that would make it maybe a little bit more understandable and easier to answer. So you may have seen some of the quick tips I've done before for Yuri, and this is a diagram from one of those, and this is a simple portrayal of a value stream type structure. And if you look across the top, and we may use this during the conversation, the blue arrows represent the value stream, right? These are the things that your company generally does or your business does to deliver a product or a service with value to a customer, and it's focused on the customer, right? The diagonal lines coming from the bottom represent a portion of the value stream, the overall scheme. The two parts independently are the upper portion is the operational value stream. It's part of your operation, and it provides value and a service directly to the customer, whether that's a widget or it's network services or it's any other type of product you can think of. The diagonal lines would be the developmental value streams, and this is just kind of level set. So the differences between the two are that one is delivering the core service or product that draws that customer to you. The developmental value streams are the teams and equipment and processes that allow you to build, to design, build, validate, and deliver additional value to your product.
So Eric, so how would you decide then which one to use, operational or development? Is it always a cut and dry case?
It's not always, but one of the key things you can think of is that the operational value stream is generally going to be something that is related to your core business. If I'm a baker and I'm delivering goods to my client, the process of baking is in the top one. That's the operation I'm doing. To deliver better baked goods or with better ingredients, that would be development value streams, right? Someone is back there determining what's a healthier type of flour, et cetera. If I'm providing a network service, delivering those core services is the top part, the operational part. And that's your business. You know how to do it. You do it every day. The development value streams are the ones that are adding value. So I not only have network capability to my desktop, I have network capability to a mobile device, right? That's a value that a development value stream is providing. I have digital fax that goes on that network. That's a value, right? The core service in that case is network, but the developmental value streams are the ones developing those additional features and functions that provide value to the end user. And that's a key thing. It's always aimed at the end user. All right. It can also be to the people on the operational value stream. So if it's a very manual process, for example, that you're doing something manually on the assembly line, delivering your service or your product, et cetera, the developmental people, teams, developmental value streams would be the teams adding automation, which gives you more value in producing that product. It makes it faster, easier, more stable, more reproducible, et cetera. So,
okay, thank you. That's pretty clear.
So, and as I mentioned in one of my other videos, this does apply. I come from PMP background from way back when. I'm not current lately, but I was for many, many years, and was actually in the DoD world, was a PMP on that side. I've done ITIL, working, in support of CIOs in the federal government, where we were delivering services in an ITIL fashion. You're designing and you're developing and you're transitioning those services to operation. This applies to all of it. Production, it applies to all of it. It's, some other frameworks are not quite as flexible, but the safe value stream type framework is very, very flexible. So these are the working ingredients you're working on. And if you look across the bottom, a big part of the value is being delivered by people, right? That's that bottom row. It's teams. We'll talk a little bit more about teams here in a second. So part of the question is, why do we focus on these? Why are we focused this way? And how do we focus this way? Well, if you think of the evolution of a company, I originally saw this as the evolution of man, the little frog jumping out of the water, and then it turns into a crawly bug and eventually ends up standing up into an upright man. But in the beginning of every company, there's someone sitting down with a napkin at a table coming up with an idea. And for years, they try to produce that idea, and they finally get it, and it's just right on the market, and it's well received, and it takes off. But then they have to grow. So they go into in the spirit of the caveman drawings, they do their best to emulate structure and do it on their own, and they produce more, and they produce some things better, but they're overwhelmed by the work level. So then they get their trusted group of disciples, and they've moved into this level of where it's a team that's reaching out, and they're doing everything together. They got a common spirit and kindred, entrepreneurial spirit, and they are making it happen. And then as they continue to grow, they get the bean counters in there, which are important. And then they get organizational structure. And then they start getting into, one presence, maybe in one city and one street. And before you know it, you're worldwide, and the entrepreneurial spirit is gone. It's absorbed into this structure that has become very safe and stable as an organization, but it's not delivering that flash or that zing that kept them or got them on the map in the first place. So that's the big question. How do you balance this between structural stability and entrepreneurial spirit? So the SAFE model, using value streams and their team structure, we'll talk a little about that, kind of tells you how to do that, or gives you a way of potentially doing that. So the way they balance that is that they separate the structure and the stability that's provided by things like HR and finance and all those other things, and they separate those to one side, and they isolate or separate the other side, the entrepreneurial people, the people who have the ideas, that understand the customer intimately and understand the business, and you put them into groups that deliver value, right? So these people become those teams that are on that developmental value stream. They're the ones that are looking at a standard service like many companies provide, but they're the teams that are adding those special things that make their product better than the product next door. All right.
So Eric, so what is the difference between the solution train, agile release train, and agile team?
Right. So these are the building blocks of the teams. So each represents a size, a rough number of people, but they all represent a standalone capability. Every one of those teams, those team structures, is completely independent. They can design, they can build, they can validate, and they can release value or components into a service or a product for a customer. For smaller activities, you would use an agile team. It's very small. They're doing all the work. They're delivering bites of value on a biweekly basis, using the Scrum and other techniques to move forward. Agile release trains are combinations of multiple agile teams working for common purposes on generally more complex projects or activities. Solution trains are combinations of agile release trains. Right? It just progressively gets bigger. But what they all retain is the ability to define and build and validate and release. And they all have that kindred spirit of agility, innovation, and focus on value and the customer. And they're not hindered by the stovepipes of a large structure organization that says all testing will be done by this division or this department. It'll all be done this way. It'll all be done on a schedule. Those things are good in some ways, but they are rigid. They're inflexible. You cannot produce as rapidly as you want. You can't make headway and then go clean up documentation afterwards because they won't let you advance. So this is the way it's envisioned. So it's a good balance, and it's hard to find, right? It's going to be dependent on many factors, but this is what makes business exciting and challenging.
Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah. So the simple answer is that you basically apply this value, or you apply your resources, your people, to your value streams to basically get back that entrepreneurial spirit and while still retaining stability of a big structure. And I mentioned this in a previous video I'd done, is that values are what make you stand out in a crowd. If everything looks the same and there's 40 cups on the wall and they're all white, but one of them's blue, the blue one's going to get everybody's attention. No one's going to want to buy what everyone else bought. They're going to want to buy the blue one. People who build Rolls Royces build a car, and the people who value the Rolls Royce value for the custom woodwork, the single name engraved on the engine for the person who built that engine. The attention to detail. They feel the value, and when they feel the value, they will pay for it. So to focus on the value and the customer's perspective of it, using these by separating into these two parts and using these value streams and developmental value streams and teams, you're going to make more money. There's no doubt about it. And people are going to value your product, and they're going to want more of it. So it really does make sense. It's harder than it appears. Obviously, else it would be done by every company in the world. So that's the big one. That's the kind of the core of this. Are there any questions on the structure or why you do this? Why you separate these out, or how you might do that?
Currently, there are no questions in chat, so we're okay.
Okay. Let me swing over to, so part of what I work on a lot in the background is, I do project management a lot for TIG, and a lot of project management is built around the framework of projects and portfolios, and there's some themes, obviously strategic themes and goals. We've all seen these things. It's pretty standard. It's been around for years. And a lot of the products, out there are definitely rigid. And I started working with Power PPM in the last year, and I was kind of pleased to see that, there's an ability to apply other frameworks quite readily to it. So, we've been playing with operational value streams and developmental value streams, and I wanted to just kind of share how that might work with going down to the Agile Release Trains and the other team level activities, and how you might track your different expenses, your capital expenses, etc. So in effect, you could operate it as a project manager. You can gain value from using the system, but at the same time, you can also provide reporting at the highest level, which saves you a lot of time. So it's a pretty neat product, and this is one we're kind of playing around based on some of the things we've just completed in another project. But in this example here, what I've done is I've kind of set up a kind of a service here called network services, and to add this, and this is my operational value stream, by the way. So network services, like I talked about, it's as simple as clicking on new and going in and giving it a title. I'll call it widget service, right? And basically in the beginning, you just have to fill in 2 mandatory fields: who's the owner and what is the service. And there are ways to enter budget and things like that. We don't need to do that for right now, but and then you save it, right? So I've created this new operational value stream, and then within that value stream, I can go in and lay quite a few things onto this. I can add new development value streams, all sorts of nice things. So let me show you an example of a development value stream, since you just saw one called network services. We're going to look at network services and drill in. And my development value stream, I have 3 in here: core network services, laboratory support services, and last mile connectivity. These actually come from a project I worked on with a agricultural company that had a lot of labs in the field. They had field laboratories, literally farms, way out in the wilderness in Colombia and Europe and Japan, that had problems getting data back to the headquarters for analysis. And they sold that data as services, as part of a service offering, and also for internal consumption. But it was about growth patterns and everything else. Large quantities of data were collected every day. So we had a major initiative for this service of core network services, that was to make those sites have a better quality of service, and then make that data more secure and more available to others. So I've fictionally taken that and turned that into 3 of what was really about 9 or 10 different components worldwide. We had to do this worldwide. So one of these was last mile connectivity, right? In literally the drop for the networks, the last one you get might be 20 miles from the site where the farm is, where the laboratory is actually doing the work and the collection. So this last mile connectivity was really a group of technical people sitting down with a vendor who was delivering that connectivity and saying, how can we shoot or get data back and forth very quickly? We can't afford to just physically store it and carry it back on dirt roads anymore. It's got to be much better than that. So we literally started looking at the innovations for us at the time, which would have been line of sight, microwave towers for communications, satellite connectivity, all sorts of options, right? But that team that was working on that is the equivalent of an agile team, right? It's got all the components to design what needs to be done to meet a requirement, which provides value. And we had people in the business community supporting us. We had contractors supporting us, and we had technical members supporting us as part of a team. And those could have easily been broken into agile teams or into agile arts or into drawing a blank.
Actually, while you're drawing a blank, I do have a quick
Yeah.
question for you.
Into
I know
solutions.
I noticed your Power PPM is set up with value stream labels and categories, and not just project and portfolio categories.
Correct.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, the Power PPM product, while it's project management oriented, that's just a title. In reality, any of the frameworks could probably be applied, and certainly we've had great success with value streams and putting the SAFe framework structure over it. In fact, we've been able to do this down to quite a level, low level. So you can see we have operational value streams, we have development value streams, and these are, there could be some of our projects we've had 50 of these operational value streams, and development's value streams might be 300. They're all tied back to each other, and they're all tied to funding. So we can take the data using terms that are value stream based, not project management based, and we can adopt this framework into our software very quickly, because it's just configuration, and provide real world data from multiple sources. Ours was coming from some internal apps for forecasting and for budgeting. And we also were getting actuals out of SAP for the client. And we could break that all the way down in portrayed in a financial grid, but we could actually break it down to extremely low level details at the team level, which is where you would probably want to go in a value stream type structure. You wouldn't want to go to the individual name, and you wouldn't want to go to the labor type. That's more of a project management focus. So this ability to quickly change this structure over here from a project management framework to a value stream framework is it's very possible. It's been done. We do it pretty routinely, and it's very valuable. I suspect this could be done with ITIL also. So in this case, I've just made up an operational value stream. I created widget on the fly, but network services. And then I've been able to drill in now on development value streams, which I have 3. And I can go in and get more and more details on each. So the timeline, for example, this gives you a Gantt style look. It gives you a Gantt style look. I didn't know if I had anything in there yet or not. But it has the feel of a project at the lowest level, but you'd be reporting your financials at the team level. I doubt that the VP needs to know that Jane Doe or John Doe specifically submitted so many hours. I suspect he wants to know that the team on that project has completed work and is delivering value. So with just a slight configuration change, we change that whole thought process from project management to value stream. Did that answer that question for you?
Yes, it did. And I'm assuming there's reporting that goes along with this, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you can have, I'll have to go to a different one for that. Hang on. Let me take you to one. I have another one I had open. Yeah, this is not the same, but it give you the idea of reporting. So here's another section we're working on in a trial area. But it's none of this is customer related. We're just kind of working within, but the reporting capability is tied. It's a Power PPM is a Microsoft platform tool here, our Power Platform tool. And
so it's using Power BI for reporting?
For reporting, it is using Power BI, right?
Okay.
And you pick up, I'm not sure how fast this is going to be, but you have the ability to expand. We typically do the structures across the top, where you can do filtering. We also do a lot of filtering over on the right-hand side. Typically in this model, we're not. But you can narrow this down. Literally, these categories would allow me to narrow down exactly to what a team spent on a given project for hours and dollars, and compare it against their projected or forecasted amounts side by side. I could see the variances. I could also roll that up in a moment's notice to a development value stream, or to a operational value stream, or even a theme. Right. And that's where I was saying earlier that this does give a project manager the ability to manage very, very well. It gives him him or her fingertip access to dashboards that are created directly from the data that's pulled from. It's very flexible. I like it. I actually like it much better than Microsoft Project. I feel Project's a little more rigid. And this really is, it's an extension of many of the products that Microsoft has had out there in the past. SharePoint, Office 365, Microsoft Project in its multiple versions that it has out there, the web version, the app version, etc. But it brings all those modern features in, like drag and drop and real-time data, and the ability to look at data over from the past. It has the ability to store data, including every change or every snapshot that you've taken or want to take of your data. Very, very powerful. To me, the big one, going back to the other view. Let me go back to that one. The view I find is that I really do like the ability to take it down to the team level and see what my teams are doing. The idea of these agile teams and the release trains and the solution teams or trains is that you're not worried about what an individual is doing. You're going to assume that if you've hired someone in your company, they're going to work, whatever, 1,980 hours is, a good working number for the year. They're going to take some vacations, that's all great. But at a level above the team lead, it's irrelevant that they're on vacation. The team in an agile and value stream type structure can cover all the bases themselves. Again, they can design it, they can build it, they can validate it and deliver it. They don't have to worry about their lead technical being gone and they can't go into testing because of it, because they can't get the test plan done. It's the team is working like in the entrepreneurial spirit. Everybody needs to chip in and get it done. So that's the value of that's the benefit of applying your people to the value streams. So going in a little bit further, let's say I wanted to, so right now we're in development value streams. I can have my risks in here. I didn't put any in yet, but you have a risks and issue capability, which is straight out of the box that pertains to your development value stream or your project, because you can have a project in this environment too, right? But you have these capabilities that go with these, and it really provides a good value. And then, one of the big things is at a financial level, it's not set up in this one right now, but the ability to drill in, and you can kind of see some of this financial setup here, this development value stream budget, the operational expenses, the capital expenses. We have vast experience now in embedding the labor costs for internal workforce, company workforce versus contracted labor. We have ways of dealing with that, and this system lets us do that. So I can look in and specifically, if I really wanted to, and I was a resource manager, I could be looking at my teams that are available to do work within the operational value structure that I manage, and I could say who's available to apply to a future to a product coming down the road, and how much work have they already done, and even gets probably the level of what approximate level of skill and experience they have as a team, right? So pretty valuable. How are we doing on time? We're about 30 minutes in.
Yeah, we're
So
plenty of time.
So let's do one here. I've kind of shown you what this might look like, and I did a little bit of a. We're going to take this one widget a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit how that. Actually, let's do network services. I'll get rid of the widgets here. I'm going to make that inactive. I'm going to deactivate it, and it'll just disappear for me. It's in the background. It's just not visible for me now. So I want to look at network services. And we'll go in here and we'll try to just brainstorm some of the values that might make network connectivity more valuable, right? So I have in here last mile connectivity, laboratory support services, which might be things like, backing up data. It could be, an immediate, on-call service capability where they could bring someone out there to work on the network and restore connectivity. It could be redundancy. It could be any of these things that lead. But what are some of the things that might make laboratory this service, or what might provide value? And one of the ones I thought about was streaming of data. Right? I don't even know if that's technically possible. Well, but we're gonna create a development value stream for streaming laboratory data. All right. So as a project lead, I would go in and I would say, okay, I want a streaming data streaming service. And I'm the program manager for that right now. And the ability to stream data to consumers. Okay, so that's a nice and simple one. Now, from a value perspective, what are the things that might make that valuable? What would a art or an agile team be looking for and maybe focusing on? And I can think of one is the ability to stream data to mobile devices, right? So that's a value that you could create even as a project. Now you can say, we're going to have a mobile portal for data, right? Something along those lines. And I want to save the changes. Yeah. So now I can go in here and I can say, I want to create a new project. And we're going to call that mobiles. We're going to call it mobile streaming, or mobile platform. Oops. Okay. And what's the value of that? In this in this time in the world, platform is everything. So if you can put it on someone's phone or put it on their iPad, and you can spin the iPad and it reformats the presentation to the vertical from the horizontal, or landscape, or portrait, that's a value, right? And it's something that stands out. And we've all sat there and looked at a product and said, does it do mobile devices? And if it didn't say it, we might not have bought that product. So that's a differentiator that provides value to your customer, that they would want to buy your product. And then we would, I can't do it on this one, but we would then assign a team to it, right? And that team, it would be done very much like a people picker here. Let's say I want to, like, for myself, I picked my name, but the way these work in the product is that I just click on it and I type in, I'm going to use Alex here. I know he's in here. And so anyone that's basically got access to the cloud services, the Active Directory active cloud services, can basically be found in this Active Directory. I can't think what it's called. But but they have an Active Directory account that's visible in the cloud services. So I can choose them. All right. That could just as easily be a team as opposed to a person. It could be the Cheetah Agile team. In fact, I don't know how many of you worked with teams like that, but a lot of them are named, the seven dwarves or whatever they're calling themselves that day. That's their team name. Cheetah, the lion, the zebras. But in this case, we're going to call it the Alex team.
Eric, so the same way as a user would sign into office.com and use all my other applications,
right.
This in the same way I would sign up to use the Power PPM, and also that's my name is obviously in there because my IT department already set me up, right?
Correct. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And you literally I literally opened it. You can see I have Power Apps down here. I clicked on that. It opened up my selection here. This is, because this is a test environment for us. I chose the one I was working in. The owner is Luke Skywalker, so we're sure that it's real. Right. So, and from within that, now I have my permissions. I'm set up right now, I believe, just as a program manager. Versus a project manager. A project manager would limit me to look at projects that I've created. A program or operational value stream lead would be able to see more like a portfolio lead would be able to see more. And you can even have portfolios of value streams, right? Just as we all know you can. So this product works very, very well for replicating that. I really do wish I had the framework for showing you the financials, but it truly is great to be able to drill into a chart like I showed you earlier, and be able to drill right down to your teams and see what they're working on, and on the project that they're working on, how much they're expending on capital, when they expect to spend it, and then to be able to, let's say, click on an area and identify like this actually will shape to reflect just the blanks, which add up to $238 million. Why do I have any blanks? I don't want to have any blanks. So I should be able to go in there and drive in and then edit those values to the correct values. It's such a nice product to be able to visually work with, and the ability to expand. And again, I apologize, it's a little slow here. I didn't really intend to go over here, but it is really a great tool. When we worked with our value streams and the value streams and operational streams and the SAP integration that we just came out of, Alex did a lot of brain work on how to actually make that work. We worked very heavily with one of the lead clients in the financial area, and mapped out their SAP work breakdown structure, so that as we had built this series of tables and data structure, the project managers could enter their data by each month, and this is what their teams are going to expend and how much their total project's going to expend. And you could see it by capital, by labor, by contracted labor, by direct expense, all the way across. And that's your forecast. And you could have right next to it your original budget for the year. So you can keep these two separate and look for the variances. And then on top of that, we can bring the actuals in. And the way they're brought in, it's one of the powers of PPM, is this connectivity to data sources. We're bringing it in, and it's filtering based on that WBS that SAP is providing right to the appropriate accounts. So you can get immediate feedback on what your team has spent, what they're going to spend. It's available, to your boss when you want it to be. It's simple to use, and it fits the framework you're in. You're not trying to use an Excel spreadsheet where the data can be changed and you can make a mistake in a formula. It's much cleaner, it's much more elegant, and it's fitting for the agile teams that you're working with. So, are there any questions so far? Anything?
No, none in the chat. We're still good.
Okay. Any areas anyone wants to go look at in more depth? Any discussions?
We'll wait for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were very thorough. I think you covered everything.
Okay.
And again, this will be available for replay on the YouTube channel. And also, I post a link Eric mentioned, I believe, for the tips and tricks video, which will also be available. And one other thing, which I will also link here, we do offer a free trial of our Power PPM tool. It's like a sandbox environment where you can actually log in and really experiment with the tool all on your own, plug in the real data, and really see the full functionality of the tool.
That actually is this one. It's actually this one. That's the one it is. And there's multiple ones. So all right, let me bring you back to the do one thing here before we leave. Think I bored them to death?
No, I don't think you did at all. So at least to me, it was a very interesting subject. We're back to the main screen.
Yeah, I brought us back here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're I thought you were trying to show us something else.
No. I was waiting to see if there was any questions. And
oh, no, I don't believe we have any questions. So yes, if we're done, well, we thank you very much for all that attended, and please take a look at our YouTube channel, subscribe. A lot of good content there coming up all the time. We post tips and tricks throughout the month, and have a very happy Thanksgiving that's coming up.
thank you for your time.
No, I think Alex is trying to speak, but he's mute.
Hey there. I think there's a question from question came up. So we have a program because it's related components to produce a single value output. Why, when will we need to introduce value streams? It's under the Q&A.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Let's take a look at the Q&A. Yes. So the question is, so we have a program because it's related components to produce a single value output. Why, when we need to introduce value streams?
So it's a single output. It's I don't know if it's a value or if it's a service or product, but when you do something once and it's of value, you things gain notoriety. You may want to be able to do that again, right, on a reproducible basis. Basically, that is the in spirit, it's the the single first product that the entrepreneur produces that gains steam in the industry. So while you're producing one of them now, you may be producing 100 of them next week for different companies or for different versions of them. The value streams let you, the value stream approach and the arts and the solution trains and these other groups that are looking at value will be looking at variations that will provide value to other customers in a slightly different situation, or provide additional value to the first customer in subsequent versions and releases, right? Times do change it, and while it may be a solid deliverable now, they may want to see a similar version of it in the future that's more up to date or more accurate or more recent data. So that's why you might want to adopt it. especially if it's your core, if it's your core business, right? It's your core business. That's where you should be putting the value, the focus on value.
Just in case we needed to expand on it, and there I opened up the mic for you if you had any further questions.
No, thank you. I think, Eric, you answered my question. I guess the clarification I'm looking for is whether we have programs here and we have projects, so but not value streams. The way we set up our agile hierarchy is in the portfolio, and we have a bunch of programs and a bunch of projects, but never value streams. And I like what Eric is presenting, but I'm not sure how, where and how I would introduce that.
It took me a while because I am, by my very nature, I started in IT and project management in the military. If you take PMI in the Army, I think you get a pretty structured environment, shall we say. So yeah, I really did have to go back and look across the frameworks. That's why it was kind of a fun topic to talk about.
Right.
And if you're delivering a service, your value stream is the service delivery process, ITIL, right? It's, you design it, you build it, you transition it, then you operate it, and then you continue to refine it over time. The value stream there, the value there is really on continuous service improvement. That's one great area to go top or do it. If you're doing projects and you're going to do it once, if it's successful, you may want to take that on as one of your new type of values you deliver to customers. So let's say it's mergers. I used to work for Accenture, and we did a lot of different, company splits and mergers. The value that we provided there at the time was our name. And we were one of the few that could go in and do it, but we couldn't reproduce it very well. It was based on, a unique set of people who had experience, and they came and went with the company over time. But with value streams, if we had looked at that as a value stream, we do financial and corporate consulting. We specialize in this additional value of mergers or splits. We could have offered that on a more continuous basis and really pitched it better to the client, probably getting more work.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you.
I hope that helps.
It does. It lends some clarity to what I'm thinking. I appreciate it.
All right. Feel free to write me if you got any questions. So
yeah, please feel free to contact us directly. I'm actually going to put my contact into the chat, and then you can I could always pass the message on to Eric.
Thank you. Okay.
And I talk a lot about Power PPM with the value streams, but at core, it is, comes out of the box. It is a project management tool, and the reports I find very, very useful. It's very, very, very useful. It's not, I'm not hunting around and looking for a PowerPoint slide, and I just, I can produce, in fact, I can actually produce directly to a PowerPoint slide and send it from the system just by having the data update. So it's a cool product. It's very quick and agile. It's not quite as cumbersome as Microsoft Project, which we do use, and we're very good at it.
Right.
But this has enough of each thing to be a standalone product when you walk into a client and to work with it. So thanks for the question.
All right, great. Yes, thank you, Dara. Thanks, everyone. And again, thank you for taking the time. And if you have any more questions, please drop us a note. I left my email in the chat. And again, have a great the rest of the week, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks.